And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 15 of this 21-day challenge called the Cold Spark. This is meant as, oh, I have some echo, just a second. Okay, here we go. I have no echo now. I was going to say that I'm Coach Hélène, and I put this 21-day challenge together to help those who have zero experience being exposed to cold to basically start a home practice so that they can ramp up the courage to get into, oh, there's echo coming on your end, I think, Gabriela.
Yeah, I'm trying to, how do I put the volume off? There you go. I'm not gonna have it because I don't know how to put the volume off.
We're not pros, people. You're going to have to bear with us. We're figuring this out as we go. Yes, so the challenge has been put together as a stepping stone for people who have zero experience with a cold practice to be able then to go outside, either in a icy spot like what I have behind me or like what Gabriela has behind her. I've got Ottawa Pool by Tom Heyerdahl behind me. You've got Shell Park in Burlington, Gabriela. And so people then would have more confidence knowing that, yes, they can expose themselves to cold and they have some breathing techniques. And there's also some grit lit. That's what I call grit lit. It's literature to build your grit. So that's your mindset, that's your perspective, however you want to call it. But basically, that's what this whole 21-day challenge is all about. And my dear friend, Gabriela Herrero, is joining me on, it's 2 days a week, days 1 and 5, days 8
Monday.
and 12, and then
Yeah.
days 15 and 19. I have to go with the number of days. We basically started on a Monday, which is easier for us. So Mondays and Fridays, Gabriela is with me. So today we are launching week 3. Week 1 was about making sure you get it done. Just get it done, get exposed. The second week was about building momentum. And today we are starting the last and third week where we're talking about identity transformation. Because when we do a regular practice and we start on the third week by about day 21 all the way through to day 30 is when these habits start to get ingrained in us. So we're talking about identity transformation, and hopefully you will identify with the cold, and we're going to chat about this. Gabriela, I've talked enough. Hello, Gabriela. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for having me again.
Did you get your cool on today?
I'm sorry?
Did you get your cool on, your cold fix? Did you go
I
swimming?
went swimming because it was a beautiful day today. It was windy, the lake was choppy, still 2 degrees, 2.7 degrees, but outside was 20 degrees and sunny.
Yes, and that's a tough one to do. That too, I was going to ask you that 2 degrees if it was air or water, but that's water temperature with 20 degrees air temperature. So a huge difference. How did it feel?
Are delicious because outside you're warm and it's nice, but then the water doesn't feel as horrible. And the wind, if the wind is warm, it's so different. It's easier to just go in but because it's been so beautiful, I think it doesn't bother me, honestly.
We've
And you
had
can see
some,
now the seagulls are back. They
oh,
never leave, but now they're noisier, so it feels like summer.
we've had some pretty strong winds over here in the last 2 days. So you've had some strong winds over there too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And with the change in temperature, there's always the wind, and the
Right.
waves were super high 2 or 3 days ago. So the
Yeah.
beach was also a little dirty.
So we
But
had, yeah, we had the reverse effect than you over here on the West Coast because I'm in Vancouver. So we had high winds bringing in a cold front, and the waves yesterday morning were about half a meter to a meter high, sometimes higher. And today was a little bit less, but that wind is still pretty. So yesterday we had gusts anywhere between 40 and 80 kilometers per hour. Today was a little less, but it's still bracing. It was, we get stripped of our nice little warm envelope when this cold wind.
And then
When
go
it's
in.
when you were mentioning the warm wind is different, absolutely, right? Like we shed our clothes and it's like, oh my God, it feels nice. This
It
warm
feels
wind in the
nice. I don't
skin.
need to hurry up and change. It's nice. And the sun, I didn't put sunblock, and I was thinking, sunblock is coming back. So
Yes. Actually, one day we'll talk about all of these things. It's
all
important to
of the
talk
other
about,
things.
but we're going to stay focused. Stay focused today. We are talking about identity transformation because this is week 3 of the challenge. So we are entering day 15. We're approaching day 21 when we start to see things happening from an identity. Are people starting to identify themselves with their cold shower or a cold bathtub or just walking outside in their bikini top or topless, right? We can go topless in Canada, wherever, whether you're whatever you are, men, women, it's okay. You can go outside topless. But the important thing is to get our cold exposure in. So one way or another. And Gabriela, I think people might not quite understand how strong of an identity shift this could be. Now, how strong of a shift was that for you? Because we started to swim together in the cold water. It was fall 2020. You joined me in November, but by then it was already cold. So
It was
how did
cold, yeah.
this change your identity and how?
Completely. Now, let's explain a little bit that a change of identity doesn't mean that you're gonna change who you are, but it changes something of your old beliefs or the old stories that you had. In my life, I would have never thought I was gonna be an ice swimmer. So for me, it was, yeah, I'm gonna try to swim in the cold, but it became something like right now is somebody I am. Like a couple of days ago, I told you this guy said to me and at Starbucks, like, "Oh my God, I know you. You are the woman that swims in the cold." And I'm like, where do you have we met before?" And
Who
he
are
says,
you?
"Well, no, I seen you and blah blah blah." So some people know me as the crazy swimmer, the crazy woman, the one that swims in the cold and everything, and I like it. That identity I like. But what shifted is I was afraid of the cold. I was afraid of being hypothermic. I was afraid of so many things. And again, how capable I am of creating new habits and still at our age doing something that is extreme. So it changed a lot of things. I like something that I enjoy since I was very little was to be authentic. And at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, you're crazy. Now there's a lot of crazy people around. And
Now we're part of it.
now we're part of it, but now there's too many. And too many, I think it's also the algorithm and all the stuff that I follow on Instagram. But you see more people swimming, which takes away a little bit of, I was so unique. Now I'm not that unique. But those
Oh
are
no, you, you're still unique enough that some random stranger from Montreal, because you told me that story last week, but some random stranger from Montreal walks into a Starbucks in Burlington, Ontario, and recognizes you as you're the woman who swims in the ice water.
I
So
know that was
that's crazy.
surreal. And what else I was gonna say? But I guess the identity change comes from the beliefs that we had, right? Like the person that introduced me, not you, but somebody else that was trying for me to swim an ice mile was injecting a lot of fear. Like, oh, go so slow and do this. And I mean, everything is about safety, especially in this sport. But she was scaring me to the point that I was not swimming. So that shift was when somebody says, well, try to swim 400 meters today and see how you feel. And that's when the monster was awoken and now I can swim.
Oh, I keep joking that I'm in the business of creating or helping to shape cold water swimming monsters. That's basically what I do. But
I'm the first one.
when we met, it was my first winter actually, if anything, I'd be laughing at myself for swimming outdoors and not in the pool. Like that's how far I was coming from.
Mhm. Another
But
thing is the shift of swimming alone in cold water, because always in the summer you swim and there's people and there's boats and there's things, but now there's nothing, and nobody on the beach. So there's a lot of fears that were broken with the cold water.
and we have a lot of stories regarding that, including someone that we know very well who had to deal with the cops 3 times now because people were calling the cops on him because he was in the cold water trying to get cold acclimatized, and people were well-meaning, thinking that maybe he was trying to commit suicide or something, and they'd call the
Yeah,
cops and
people
he'd have to
telling
explain. Yeah,
yeah, people
yeah,
telling us things on the beach. And
yeah. And I mean, it's basically we had to rewrite our own stories,
Mhm.
swimming in this cold water, rewrite our beliefs. And I think we helped to rewrite the beliefs of a lot of people who were walking on
Oh.
that beach that first winter when Adore, my husband, was our lifeguard
Mhm.
support crew on land, and he ended up being our PR person as well, answering so many questions about the
Mhm.
cold water
Mhm.
swimming that we were doing. But I know for me, it was a huge identity transformation. First of all, going from a pool swimmer to an open water swimmer was pretty big. Um, for a number of reasons, I was more into pool swimming and a specific pool. I react to chlorine, so I could only go to non-chlorinated pools. So that was a little bit more complicated. But then when I started to swim in Lake Ontario, I started that in 1997. I ended up with a skin infection. So I was like, yeah, I believe that the lake is dirty. I got an infection. I'm never going back in there again. So I had to overwrite that story. Thankfully, another friend of mine, Steve, was like, no, they've cleaned the lake since. It's much, much, much better. I haven't been sick. I've been in there almost every day. So after much prodding, and also because there was nothing to do, it was COVID. I had a broken toe and couldn't go anywhere, couldn't even walk in the trails. So, all right, fine, I'll go to the lake. And I was hooked. I was hooked by the first time. It was a lot to process, a lot. And then the second time, and then by the third time, I was completely like, yes, I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. And then I think it was in my second week, I met a woman at Burlington Beach who was telling me she goes in every day in order to better control her hot flashes. And I was like, what? I have hot flashes because of the car accident I was in. And I was entering that perimenopause, menopause age. And it was just like my hormones were all over the place because of the car accident. Plus, it was madness. And I found that, yeah, sure enough, the cold water not only solved my hot flashes, but it also miraculously got rid of my migraines. So
Mhm.
how do I identify myself? I'm definitely, a cold water swimmer for sure. And I need to get my fix. It's like a drug now. And if I don't get
It's
it,
like a drug.
I get antsy. It's so weird, Gabriela. I'm not sure if you're like me. Like 2 days without, one day without going, I'm taking a cold shower here at home or at the Mineral Aquatic Center here in Richmond. We have a cold plunge. We're very lucky. I can go in there, cold at 18 degrees, you know, just saying. But it's better than nothing. But if I'm 2 days away from the ocean, I don't feel right. I need that reset. And
Yeah, so do I.
it's as much my transformation, my identity transformation or reaffirmation as it is for how I feel. And one last thing I'm going to leave you with, because I want to hear more about you. When I'm in the ocean, I always think the water, first of all, we float. It's buoyancy versus gravity, right? So it completely disconnects our nervous system. It's a little bit like going back into our mother's womb. So it's like going back to the earth's womb. And then in addition to this connection, the water comes through the pores of our skin. I always feel like I am becoming the water is me. So that is a direct identity affirmation right there. How do you feel about this?
Mm, I do have to go, but I have another way of compensating, which is completely the opposite. I love yoga. So my hot yoga class also makes me be at peace. So at the end of the night, usually I go for a hot yoga class. So I have two identities. One is my yoga and the other one is my cold swimming. But swimming in the lake and the connection with nature is everything for me. Absolutely everything. Um, the day that I said that I was a cold water swimmer, it was also being in the water. Like I've been swimming open water since I was 17 years old. So I started noticing that I was able to swim with no wetsuit because I'm claustrophobic. So every time I saw a wetsuit, I was so that made me think I can do cold water, but I didn't know this existed. Like in my mind was you submerge 5 minutes and you die. So it became a learning experience. It became um, challenging my body, which is something that I like. And but yeah, it brings me peace, a lot of peace.
The yoga that you do in the evening is a hot yoga.
It's hot yoga.
I'm just
It's
thinking about,
extreme
yes, acclimation here, right? So you're cold acclimated because of all the
and
cold swimming
hot.
that you do. And you're also hot acclimated.
Yeah, I love hot yoga.
So do you find that this is the best of both worlds for you to have access to both?
Well, I was living without one for my whole life, right? I started this 6 years ago, but hot yoga I started a long time ago. Um, I don't know. I think I can live without hot yoga because I would do yoga outside. But there's something about challenging my body in hot yoga. And also, there's a lot of controversy about hot yoga, the same as there's controversy about cold swimming. And I can
Right.
create controversy about doing yoga with goats or with doggies or with wine or
Just don't do hot yoga with chocolate.
that would be something completely different from yoga.
Would smell good, but it wouldn't look good. Oh my God, I just caught on to what you were saying. Oh, you're so quick. Just remember, this is a family show, family show. Oh my goodness. Yes. So for those of you who are watching at home, yes, we do, our bodies do acclimate. And the beauty of doing this cold, and I think it's the same thing with the hot, Gabriela, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it also helps to turn on certain of our genes, and more specifically the gray fat, which is a type of fat in our body that helps speed up our metabolism, and it's also really good for our brain. So someone with some type of brain, I don't want to say illness, it's not the right word, but some type of health issue with the brain, and where the brain doesn't flush well at night. There's all sorts of at night, basically in our sleep, the brain, the cells that have worked so hard and produce some byproducts that need to be flushed out of the body. Think of, it's not toxins, but it's just, it needs to be flushed out. It gets flushed out at night. And one of the issues with Alzheimer's patients and anyone with some brain issues, who people who don't sleep well, this doesn't get flushed well and it accumulates in different ways. And the brown fat is actually quite helpful in making sure that the brain does flush these things out. So that's part of why we want to do a cold exposure practice. But I don't know if that's, if the same, because we have cold shock proteins and we have heat shock proteins. We activate both, but does that mean that we also get the benefit for the gray fat in both? That's the step that I'm not sure.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't have information regarding that.
Yeah. Yeah. Susanna Soberg is a great resource. Soberg. She's from Finland, I think, Scandinavia. And she's been doing a lot of research on cold exposure, mostly through dipping. And what her research has shown is actually we only need 11 minutes total per week. It doesn't matter how we do it in order to gain the benefits. But then again, it depends on what kind of benefits are you looking for. So if you're looking for regulate the hormones so that you don't have hot flashes at night, that it's going to take more than 11 minutes total. It's going to take anywhere between, it depends also on the temperature of the water, temperature of the air, but what we're finding from personal experience, I've coached about 30 women already now, is that we need on average 5 to 15 minutes in the cold water. And by cold, I mean under 10 degrees. If the water is at about 8 degrees, then you definitely want to be in there for 12 to 15 minutes. If the water is at 2 degrees, then by all means, you can be in there 5 minutes tops and it'll be fine.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know those tables, if they exist, of how much you have to be, for how long, and all of that.
I have been looking for them. First of all, let's put it out there. There's not enough research done on cold water exposure, more specifically swimming. Research is barely existent. That has been one of the topics that I've discussed at length with my guest, Dr. Mark Christie, I think it was in the podcast episode where we talk about blue therapy. And there's just not enough research out there. I mean, how many study participants want to willingly expose themselves into the cold every single day, right? And then there's a limit to the data that we can get. And I remember having that conversation as well with Dr. Martin Gabala in terms of how would we actually measure the data points. And there are too many variables. It's not just the air and the water, then there's also current, there's also how the person is feeling, which you could say, well, it would also affect them in a lab, except the lab is constant temperature. If you go in the morning, you've got some participants coming in the morning, participants coming in the afternoon, completely different. So it's very difficult to find research, to find data that is reliable. Dr. Soberg says it's about 11 minutes in total. From personal experience, I could tell you it's more than that. It could be 11 minutes, one exposure per day in order to regulate the hormones. Gabriela, have you been doing sprint interval trainings as well in the cold water?
No, not now.
Really?
Now
Okay.
there's not a lot of distance that I can do to do that. No, it's more in the spring.
Okay, so yeah, that's a whole other issue. It's in terms of performance. So there's a whole aspect of health benefits to cold exposure, cold water swimming, let's go that way, but cold exposure in general, and then cold water swimming would be your next step. And then there's a whole performance aspect of it. Cold water is actually a performance enhancer. And I say this, I've got proof. You can look at my times in my races. And I just love leaving those little punks behind me in those open water races. They're wearing their wetsuits and they're all like, yeah. And me in my bikini. Just go by.
That's probably why they stop.
Like, what was it?
What was that?
A mermaid just passed me.
Yeah, no, I have not done that. I have to, and I have to change. That is something that I have to change in my identity, that I'm not racing anymore. I think I need to step it up a little bit. And
well, I could tell you this, the day that you will decide to step it up, it might give you an even bigger high.
probably.
I get out of the water when I do my sprints and I'm like, yeah, like a 1,000-watt light bulb. But the after drop is greater. So you have to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
So apart from that, from an identity transformation, what else can we say about this?
Well, I think it's a very very particular thing with the little steps that they have done during these 15 days. What has changed?
Hmm. What has changed for you at home doing this practice? Has
For me?
anything changed? No, I'm talking about
Oh,
people at home,
for everybody.
but
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
about for you? How about for you? Because I know that you've been doing some of the practice as well during this 21-day challenge.
Well, I think that even though we've been doing this for a long time, still our bodies react to the cold, to washing dishes. It was really cold. The water was really, really cold. Um, another thing that I did, I put gas in my car with no jacket. It was like,
Oh,
how long can
yes.
it take you? Yeah, so I'm doing things that normal people can do. And I said, okay, I'm gonna put gas in my car and no gloves, nothing. So holding the metal thing, opening the car, and I couldn't open it. It was like days, the whole day. So it was interesting because you're actually conscious of feeling the cold. I felt it in my hands. The wind was in my face. Like there's so many times that you can expose yourself to cold that it's super interesting. Just put gas on your car.
And just before anyone starts to write us messages about, oh, how unsafe it is, you're going to freeze your fingers. Of course, people, you would have to be, aware of how your body is feeling and know the signs, right? So that if you're starting to get cold, that's good. But if you are freezing and you're starting to feel like you
Oh my
can't
God, yeah,
speak
no.
well, like you've got to figure out what your signs are, your own signs. Everyone is slightly different. They always talk about general signs, loss of speech or more slurred speech and all of these things. But everyone has a slightly different threshold on different things. And I mean, I know I lose my hands more than I will lose my speech ability, right? And then at one point I lose my speech ability. I've got my hands gone, but I know that I could still go. So what do I do? Do I go back in? So these are calls I have to make. And usually it depends on how my feet are feeling. So if my feet are
Yeah.
also cold, I'm out.
Yeah.
If,
Well, I think
you know,
at this stage when they're feeling and learning and deciding how long they can go, it's how you start, how you feel your hands. There are people that cannot have their hands completely exposed. They need the gloves or they need booties. I have a lot of people that swim with booties because obviously the hands and the feet get super cold. It's the first thing that loses all the blood. So, but there are people that it's really interesting to see that I cannot go without any socks. I'm the other way around. If you put me in booties, I'll die.
yeah, yeah, I think it would be very awkward for me too. But I have to say this, we both know people who have started to swim with booties and gloves and the whole thing. And then through the years, they start to shed things, right? So they need less and less because they've become more that word again.
Acclimatize.
Acclimatized. That's right. That's right.
That's the one.
Oh, God, that's the one word.
Yeah,
Adapted. They've become cold adapted.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with using the tools in order to get you in there. You use whatever you need in order to get enjoyment out of your cold outing. And
yeah.
if that's, you keep it short and you don't wear gloves and booties, that's okay. Or you go longer with gloves and booties, that's okay. That's
And you're
that's
gonna
the
see a lot
beauty.
of people that go too deep and they have the hat and they have the gloves and or mittens or whatever, and you see them in the water just like penguins with their little hands up, boop, 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 and then they come out exactly the same way and they never put the hands in the water.
And that's okay too. It's your practice, like the one at home that we're doing right now, right? It's your practice at home. So you decide how you do it, what it looks like, if it's 30 seconds or if it's 5 minutes, it's really up to you. One thing I will say doing this challenge, Gabriela, I've noticed because now I'm making more of an effort to get cold throughout the day. I'm noticing that my foot is getting better
Oh,
because of freezing more regularly throughout the day, and just so
Mhm.
people at home, you're like, whoa, what's wrong with my foot? I've had a long issue now with my foot. I've fallen down the stairs twice, and I have a number of issues going on. So poor Gabriela, when she came to visit me in BC, ended up having to go up Grouse Mountain without me while I was taking the little blue cart all the way up. You actually walked it up there.
I walked it up,
You're a real trooper. You hiked. I just
and the
faked it.
little kid passed me.
That's that's all good. That's all good.
Well, his dad carried him half the mountain. So.
Sure.
No, Ascador.
Uh,
he was crying at the beginning, the poor kid.
oh.
Yeah, I think it was brutal for the kid, but anyway, everybody has their own stuff that they want their kids to do. My
Yeah.
kids go
Well,
swimming in the cold, so
if you remember the kid passing you, I'm sure the kid remembers passing you too. So the kid
oh,
might
he
have been,
passed a lot of people.
yeah, kid might have been crying at the beginning, but at the end he was probably like, I passed a lot of adults. Like when I'm swimming in my bikini, I'm leaving the young punks in my wake. Oh, and one thing I want to add, because this one is actually pretty important. Another way for people to get their cold is to make sure that they don't overheat their homes.
All
So
right.
what temperature are you keeping your home at? Right? Over here, we're at 19 to 20 degrees. And when we first moved here, we were keeping it at 22, 23 degrees. So
That's hot.
22, I used to be comfortable. Now I'm hot. And at 19 to 20 degrees, I'm okay. And at night, it's still 17 to 19 degrees. We try not to use the heater. But that's a really easy way of getting your cold. And anyway, from a sleep point of view, we want to sleep in as cold of a room as possible for better quality of sleep.
Of sleep. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking maybe people that like to be with their socks on. Remove your socks.
Yeah. Remove the socks, put more layers on top of your bed, have your face exposed, and if you can, stick your hands out and maybe 1 or 2 feet out and see how you can do. And then maybe you put
Yeah.
them back in, right? It's
There are
cold
so many
exposure.
ways.
Yeah.
So many ways to do it. And well, right now the water's starting to warm
Warm
up.
up.
It's a good time to try to go in water that usually you would not go because it's cold, but it's not that cold. Go.
Mm-hmm. And over here, our ocean right now at Kits is anywhere between, we had 6.8 a few days ago. So anywhere between, let's say, 6.8 and 8.4 degrees. That's actually quite a variation when it's that cold. It makes a difference. This morning,
Yeah.
I felt it was warmer and it was actually a 7 point, I don't know, 7.3, 7.4. So my
Uh,
inner thermometer is off. Um,
Here it hasn't changed in a long time.
it's still 2
It,
degrees, right? 2, 3
it's
degrees.
almost three. It's like 1 degree difference, but no, it's still cold. Very, very cold.
That would be a lot colder for me. When I went to Tom's pool in Ottawa, it was definitely 0 degrees. And I had a little bit of that ice cream headache that you usually get,
Mm.
right? And I was like, oh, I'm not used to this. But the water was considerably colder than
It was
what
cold.
I'm
Yeah.
used to, right? So if I'm swimming in 7 degrees, I go at 0, it's at least 7 times colder than what I'm used to. And then for you, it would be like twice as cold, which is still very cold, but people don't necessarily think about increments. They just think about the units, right? Oh, from 2 to 0, it's 2 degrees. It's not that much. Yeah, well, it's actually,
It is.
yeah,
It is.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I need my cold right
Yeah,
now.
I think you need your cold. I think if you were to go into a hot yoga class right now, Gabriela, you would fall asleep.
I would definitely fall asleep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I'm not going.
So
Fall asleep.
I'm gonna let you go and get your cold. I'm gonna go and get my cold too. I just recorded a video for the 21-day cold spark challenge. I think it's today, so it's day 15. And I got my cold in. I came in and I had bright red cheeks because it's pretty cold in the wind, in our strong cold wind over here. So you
That's
go and
good.
get your cold, wake up a bit, and then Have a good night,
Yeah,
guys.
I think sometimes when we talk way too much about the swimming and the hard core things that we do, and in this case, people are going slowly, like feeling what it's to be cold and trying to see if they will be able to shift and start doing more and more and more. So just go slow.
Hmm. And people, you don't have to start swimming like what we're doing.
Oh my God,
If
no.
if you have a cold exposure practice at home and it suits your needs, then great, just keep at it. But if ever you feel like, oh, maybe I want more out of this cold practice, then go outside, right? And in fact, tomorrow, and it's on Eventbrite, I am actually leading a webinar on how cold water exposure can help with chronic pain management. So you can look that up on Eventbrite. Look at the events for the Coolest Journey, Coach Hélène, and it's going to be there. You can still sign up. We still have another 24 hours for you to sign up. And yeah, it's cold water just brings it to the next level. And I really do think the buoyancy, it's not the same thing as a cold bath either. It's just that, I don't know, it's just yum. We're a little obsessed with the swimming, but you're right,
A
Gabriela.
little bit.
People for people who are at home doing this 21-day cold spark challenge, it's meant as a cold spark for your life, so that you spark things in your life and you see where that can take you. You don't have to go and swim.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Gabriela.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone
It's
watching. And Gabriela, you're going to be back on day 19 to conclude, to help me conclude in part, because I'm going to do another conclusion on day 21, 22. And yeah, it's going to be our last one in 4 days.